Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a Disney planning video. In this video, I hope to give you all of my personal tips and the ways that I plan a Disney vacation. I'm going to give you some information that you need to know about Disney and anything that involves planning your Disney trip. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, so first off, before I actually jump into the actual planning steps, there's a few things that I want to mention and talk about first. So the first thing is just a side note here. Everyone that I live with is home today, so if you hear any noises or voices, please disregard that. I will maybe put some music in the background, so maybe that helps a little bit. Primarily in this video, I'm going to be talking more specifically about planning a Disney World trip. However, I feel like you can take these steps and kind of put it towards any Disney vacation, or honestly, maybe any vacation in general. You just have to kind of tweak a few things, but I'm going to be talking mostly about Disney World, and I do have some notes in front of me, so if you catch me looking down, that is why. So the first thing to note about Disney World to know is that there are 4 theme parks: Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and Animal Kingdom. So there are 4 different parks. They also have 2 water parks, Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach, which I have not been to either of those, so I'm not going to talk about those at all, but I did want to mention that those are available. There is Disney Springs, which is the shopping and restaurant district. It's just shopping and like restaurants, that's all that's there, but it's a great time. And honestly, on Disney World property, they have so much more than just this, but that's all I was gonna mention for now. I wanted to also mention that a very, very important aspect of planning, but more specifically while you're in the parks, is having the My Disney Experience app. I would download the My Disney Experience app if you have not already and try to get familiar with it before you get to the parks, because this app is going to be your go-to, your everything in the parks. You can do so many things on this app. You can check wait times, you can book your dining reservations on there, which I will get to dining reservations later in this video. You can mobile order on there. You can use your phone in the My Disney Experience to actually link your tickets and do Magic Mobile. You can, I think I already said mobile order. You can do merchandise mobile checkout, which is basically a self-checkout type of thing. Like you're literally taking your phone with the My Disney Experience app and you're going through the store, it's only select stores, but you can scan the items that you want to buy on the app, and then you go to a select, or what would you call it? It's not a kiosk, but like there's like certain cast members that are off on a separate section of the store where you can go up and basically it's like mobile order, but it's for shopping. Let's just put it that way. You don't order ahead though. You're going in and scanning stuff as you're shopping and then checking out instead of waiting in line. But that's besides the point. There are just so many important and helpful features on the My Disney Experience app that make your Disney vacation so much easier. And another thing that's on the My Disney Experience app that I'm going to talk about next is Genie Plus and Lightning Lane. So Disney Genie Plus and Lightning Lane is what replaced the Fast Pass, if you are familiar with that. It's basically the skip the line service that now you have to pay for. So it's basically the same concept as Fast Pass, except now it's not free, you have to pay for it. Now with Disney Genie Plus, I will kind of talk about this quickly here. You no longer can purchase it in advance. You purchase it day of your trip. So let's go ahead and go a little bit deeper into Disney Genie Plus and Lightning Lane. Okay, so there are technically 3 different versions of Disney Genie. There is Disney Genie, which is just a planning service. There is Disney Genie Plus, which is the actual like Lightning Lane service, and there are individual Lightning Lanes. So first up, I'm not really going to touch too much on the Disney Genie portion of this because it's just literally like a little bit of a planning. It's not really a service because it's for Disney Genie is free. It's on the My Disney Experience app. Kind of just, you can customize things and like it'll put together an itinerary for you. So with Disney Genie, this is a paid skip the line service. So as I mentioned with Disney Genie Plus, this is something that you can purchase day of your park visit. You can no longer purchase it in advance. I know when they first came out with that service, you were able to purchase it ahead of time with your park tickets, but no longer is that the case. So if you are a Disney Resort guest, you can purchase Disney Genie Plus at midnight the day of your trip, and then you can book your first Lightning Lane at 7 a.m. on that day. If you are not a Disney Resort guest, you can purchase Lightning Lane at 7 a.m. and book your first Lightning Lane at 7 a.m. And the price of Disney Genie Plus and Lightning Lane varies by day, but it also varies by park. So the new system or setup for Disney Genie Plus is they have it broken up by park, and that's the cost will be based off of the time of year and of course how busy that is at the parks. So Magic Kingdom is always going to be the most expensive. They have a multi-park option that you can purchase if you're going to be using Disney Genie Plus at multiple parks, if you're doing like park hopping, which I'll get to later. Or you can just buy it for Magic Kingdom, you can just buy it for Epcot, you can just buy it for Hollywood Studios, or you can just buy it for Animal Kingdom, whatever park you're going to that day. So Magic Kingdom and multi-park are going to be the same price, and they're going to be the most expensive. The second most expensive typically tends to be Hollywood Studios, followed by Epcot, and Animal Kingdom being the cheapest option. So it all varies based on, like I said, time of year, the amount of crowds that's at Disney World, and it varies day by day. So it might be one price one day and then a different price the next day. And there's also individual Lightning Lanes, and those are an additional cost. So with individual Lightning Lanes though, you do not have to purchase Disney Genie Plus in order to buy Lightning Lanes, but if you do purchase Disney Genie Plus, you pay whatever the price is for the day. But then if you're going to also be doing an individual Lightning Lane, that's an additional cost on top of what you already paid for Disney Genie Plus. And also with that, you can only book 2 individual Lightning Lanes per day. Another thing with the individual Lightning Lanes is if you are a Disney Resort guest, you can book those at 7 a.m. with your regular Disney Genie Plus Lightning Lanes. For everyone else that's not a Disney Resort guest, you cannot purchase individual Lightning Lanes until park open of whatever park you are going to. Back to regular Disney Genie Plus and the regular Lightning Lanes, there is a 2-hour rule that goes with when you can book these. So that's 2-hour rule is, so if you book your first Lightning Lane at 7 a.m., the 2-hour rule doesn't start until park opens. So what I mean by that is there's a couple of different ways on when you can book your next lightning lane. So if you're booking your first lightning lane at 7 a.m., you cannot book another one until either you've used that first one or it's been 120 minutes, which is the 2-hour rule. And that 2-hour rule the 2 hours does not start at 7 a.m. when you book your first lightning lane. The 2-hour rule does not start until park opens. So it doesn't matter if you book your first lightning lane at 7, and that doesn't mean you can book your next one at 9. You have to wait until park open, then that 2-hour clock starts. So you either wait until that 2-hour rule is up to book another lightning lane, or you would have already had to have used your first lightning lane in order to book a second one. Another thing with the individual lightning lanes is there is only one ride at each park, with the exception of Magic Kingdom, that has individual lightning lane. So at Magic Kingdom, the 2 rides that offer individual lightning lane is going to be Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and the newest ride, which is Tron. At Epcot, the individual lightning lane ride is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. At Hollywood Studios, it is Rise of the Resistance, and at Animal Kingdom, it is Flight of Passage. So those 5 rides are going to be individual lightning lanes, and that's it. So you either wait and stand by for the ones that offer standby, or you buy the individual lightning lanes. There is no regular lightning lanes for those rides. So I've lost my light, it died. So I did kind of turn just a tad here, so I'm not completely dark, but I also don't want like nonsense in the background. So hopefully it's not too dark. I mean, you're just looking at my face while I'm talking, so it's not really a big deal. So I think that wraps up everything that I wanted to mention about Disney Genie Plus and lightning lanes and individual lightning lanes. Something else to kind of piggyback off of that is virtual queues. So virtual queues are free. They have nothing to do with Disney Genie Plus. There are currently 2 rides that offer virtual queues. There is Tron and there is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. So again, the virtual queues are free. You don't have to pay for them. You just have to kind of be on the My Disney Experience app right at 7 a.m. when they first drop to basically try to get into the virtual queue line at 7 a.m. and that can be from anywhere. And they also offer a second time, which is 1 p.m. But for that time, you have to be in the actual park for the ride that you are trying to get to. So, like I said, there are 2 rides currently that offer virtual queues. That's going to be Tron in Magic Kingdom, and Epcot is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. So those 2 rides, like I mentioned earlier, also have individual lightning lanes. So you can just purchase an individual lightning lane rather than trying to enter the virtual queue. Or if you're lucky enough to enter the virtual queue and you also still want to purchase the individual lightning lane, you can do that as well. I know I've done that in the past with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. When I wrote it for the first time, I did virtual queue and then I liked it so much that I wanted to ride it again, so I purchased the individual lightning lane to ride it a second time. So those are the 2 virtual queues that are available right now. And I know that's going to change in the future because we have Tiana's Bayou Adventure that they are working on right now in Magic Kingdom. So once that ride opens this year, actually, that will most definitely have a virtual queue. So then the whole virtual queue system will probably change a little bit on what rides, maybe not, who's to say. So that's going to be it for the virtual queues. And I just want to talk about one more thing here before I get into the actual planning steps. So on Disney property, there are a variety of different transportation options, and they all have different destinations. So first up is the Disney buses. So the Disney buses is going to be probably your best option if you're trying to get to a variety of different places. The Disney buses take you pretty much everywhere, I would think. But with the buses as well, it's a little bit confusing as to where all you can go from where. So from a Disney resort, you can go to any of the 4 theme parks and Disney Springs. And I want to say, I actually don't know this for sure, so don't quote me on this, but I want to say you should be able to get to the Disney water parks with the buses as well. I would almost think, guarantee. So you can go from your resort to any of the 4 theme parks, probably the 2 water parks, and Disney Springs. However, at a park, you cannot take a bus to another park or to Disney Springs. The buses will only take you from the park to a resort. Your resort, if you want to go to a different resort, but they only go to the resorts from the park. From Disney Springs, you can only take the bus, again, back to a resort, any resort, but they do not go from Disney Springs to the parks. So I hope that all made sense. Then the next transportation is the monorail. Now again, the monorail is this one is just select. So the monorail kind of goes in a loop, and it starts at the TTC, which is the Ticket and Transportation Center. Then it also goes to, obviously it goes to Magic Kingdom, and it also goes to the 3 monorail resorts, which is going to be Contemporary Resort, Polynesian, and Grand Floridian. And again, in those this goes in a loop from those resorts to Magic Kingdom to the TTC. But also at the TTC, you can also get on a monorail that will take you to Epcot. So that is an option as well. The next one is the Disney Skyliner. Again, very limited destinations here. So the Skyliner is available at 4 different Disney resorts. You can get on the Skyliner at Pop Century and Art of Animation. They are right next to each other. And you can get on at Caribbean Beach or Riviera Resort. And the Skyliner only takes you to 2 out of the 4 parks. You can go to Hollywood Studios or Epcot via Skyliner. Then the second to last one is the boats/ferry boats. So also at the TTC, you can take a ferry boat to Magic Kingdom if you didn't want to take the monorail. And also I know a select handful of resorts have boats that you can just take from your resort to Magic Kingdom, or I think there are also some boats that you can take from your resort to like Disney Springs. I'm sure there's more options that I'm not mentioning here because I am still, even though I am very experienced, I'm not the most experienced, and I'm still learning things about Disney World and Disney property and everything that comes with it. So, and I've also only experienced so much. So there's a lot that I haven't experienced that I can't really talk about because I don't know. And then the last transportation that I wanted to bring up is the minivans. So the minivans are something that you can take they only drive on Disney property. And you can book a minivan through the Lyft app. Obviously, you can also just take a regular Lyft or an Uber if you needed to. But obviously, for those, you have to pay. And the rest of them are all complimentary, just on Disney property. But they have a exclusive minivan, which is literally what it sounds like. No, not literally what it sounds like. Because when you say minivan, you're thinking like the car minivan. No, these minivans, if I can pop stuff up on the screen, I will put a picture right here of what the minivan looks like. If not, I will put it in the next clip right here. But the minivan is literally a vehicle that's dressed up like Minnie Mouse. So that is why it's called the minivan. So that is also an option that you can take on Disney property if you so choose. Okay, so now we will actually get into the planning steps. I know that was a lot of talking already, But I wanted to get all that information out to you before so that you can kind of get an idea of everything there is to offer and, you know, just get it all out there. So one more tiny little thing before I actually get to the first step is I just wanted to mention, if you are new to Disney and planning vacations for Disney, Disney is very, very expensive, and it is very important that you take the time to really plan out your trips and give yourself time to really save for these trips, because they're not cheap in the least. So I just wanted to make that a very important point. And I know if you aren't new, you already know that, and you're probably like, well, duh. But for those of you who are newer and using this video as kind of a guideline, just wanted to throw that out there. So now I'm gonna go over the steps on planning, how I do it. So everyone plans their trips differently. Everyone has different circumstances or situations or scenarios that they have to accommodate. So usually for me, when I'm planning a trip, it's either going to be just me, as in like a solo trip, or it's going to be me and my sister, Ashley, which the two of us go by the two of us quite a bit. And occasionally it will be planning for my whole family, which would be my mom, my stepdad, my brother, my sister, and myself. But usually it's just me and my sister, or it's just me. So some of you might have larger families to plan for. Some of you might have little kids to plan with or for, older kids. It kind of just varies, and it's all just a variety of different scenarios. So for me, in my scenarios, the first thing that I do is really kind of just think or figure out when I want to go. And when I'm saying when I want to go, it's more so of like a time of year or maybe a specific month, because there are certain times of the year where it's a lot busier, like school breaks, summer, Christmas time, holidays, that type of stuff. Or there's also times of the year where the weather is not going to be the greatest. Like in the summer, it's going to be way hotter, or the end of summer is kind of like a lot of rain and like hurricane season and that sort of stuff. And then you get into like December and January, where temperatures can be a little bit on the cooler side if you don't want that. So it all kind of depends on what I'm looking for. Or even there's certain events like the different Epcot festivals. There's Festival of the Arts, which happens in January and February. There is Flower and Garden, which typically starts in March, but it's not the case for this year. But typically it starts in March and runs through July typically, but again, not this year. There is Food and Wine Festival, which usually is the middle to end of summer through like the middle of November. And then there is Festival of the Holidays. So kind of also depends on if I'm maybe wanting to go to a specific festival, or see the parks during Halloween time, or see the parks during Christmas time, or just whatever different things might be going on. So I kind of just pinpoint maybe a certain month or time of year on when I want to go. So then once I kind of have an idea of maybe when I want to go, then I start doing some research and I start kind of playing around with numbers. And again, if I'm able to pop some screen recordings on the screen, I'll put them right over here. If not, then I might just do a couple of slides after this, right here in the middle of this clip. So what I mean by playing with numbers is I'll go on my Southwest app. That's what I used. I fly Southwest. I'll go on my app and I will just go to book a flight, and I will kind of just put in different airports that are close to me to Orlando. I'll put in different dates, and obviously it also depends on if there's just me or if there's more than one person. I change that, but I kind of just go in and I'll just like pretend buy, like I'll get to the final page where it's like purchase, and just so I can see how much the flight will cost for this date or for this week or for this, like, yeah, I just go through and I just do different little scenarios, and I'll do that with the resorts as well. So usually I always stay on Disney property, and I usually always stay at a value resort. Primarily my favorite is Pop Century, but if I don't want to do Pop Century for this trip, I will look at one of the other value resorts, but I will always stay on Disney property for the most part. So, but I'll do that same scenario with whatever resort I choose, or maybe I'll just do a variety of different resorts to see what the pricing is going to look like. Like, obviously the value resorts are going to be the cheapest versus if I were to look at a moderate or deluxe resort. So I typically always do value resorts because they are the cheapest. And I'll kind of just play with numbers. And then the last thing that I will do with playing with the numbers is park tickets. So park tickets are going to be based off of, again, time of year, and also it also depends on how many park tickets you're buying. So basically, if you're buying, the more park tickets that you buy, the cheaper the price is going to be per day. So if you're buying a 5-day park ticket, it's going to be a lot cheaper to buy 5 days than it will be to buy 2 days, and that's like per day. So if I can show you an example, I will pop that up on the screen. But it's basically their way of saying, hey, stay more days and it'll be cheaper per day for you to stay longer. So but so yeah, that's what I will do once I kind of figure out maybe like a specific month or a specific time of year that I want to go. I'll just play with the numbers. That's kind of my way of budgeting, is kind of just playing with the numbers and seeing how much the flights might cost if I do this week or this date, or maybe a different airport, and how much the resort will cost if I have this stay to the, like, you know what I'm saying? So also, so I mentioned that I always stay on Disney property, and that there are value, moderate, and deluxe resorts. Those are the 3 different categories on pricing. So value will be the most expensive, or value will be the cheapest, moderate will be in the middle, and deluxe will be the most expensive. So they also offer good neighbor hotels. They are located near the Walt Disney World resorts. So that's also another option if you wanted to not stay on Disney property or like at a Disney owned resort. They also have the good neighbor hotels. So then the next step for me is to basically, once I've done my pricing and, you know, playing around with the different numbers on different days and weeks and months or whatever, is basically to come to a final decision on when exactly I want to go and how long exactly I want to stay. So then once I've come to that final decision, it will also just depend on if I've already saved up the money or if I need to continue to save a little bit more based on what numbers I came up with for the stay that I want to do. So once I'm actually ready to book, that will be my next step, is to actually start booking everything. I apologize to keep bumping the table that the camera is on. So is start booking. So I don't know if there is actually a specific order that you're supposed to book your stuff in, but I'm going to tell you the order that I book my stuff in. So I book my flights first. I go on my Southwest app and I book my flights, and then I do my resort. I go on Disney's website and I book my resort, and then next I will book my park tickets. And with this as well, I wanted to mention something that I do that I think is very important when you're actually doing the booking is after you have officially booked and it comes up with that confirmation screen, I always screenshot everything because I like to make sure that everything is, kind of saved. So I have my confirmation numbers that's on that screen. That's a screenshot right there. I will also, prior to actually hitting the purchase button, I will screenshot that where it has like the total and everything and all the information. I'll screenshot that first, and then when I purchase, I'll screenshot the confirmation screen. And I do that for flights, resort, and park tickets, just so I have everything kind of saved. And I'll have all those screenshots on my phone when I do go on my trip, because if something were to happen or like let's just say my email is glitching, or the My Disney Experience app is not working, or something happens to where I can't go on and prove that I have a reservation or whatever, I have the screenshots in my photos that I can pop up and say like, hey, here is my confirmation number. It doesn't hurt to always have your screenshots. So I find screenshotting everything is just the safest bet. So I wanted to talk next about a couple of like add-ons, or yeah, I guess you would just call them add-ons that kind of go with the park tickets. So something that you can add on to your park tickets when you're purchasing them is it will ask you if you wanted to do one day or one park per day, or if you wanted to do park hopper. And what park hopper is kind of exactly what it sounds like, is you can, if you purchase it, and again, if you purchase park hopper, it is an additional cost added on to your ticket. So it's gonna add on a certain amount. I don't know what the exact amount is, and it might depend on how many days you're doing as well. But if you have park hopper, you can go to whatever park you want to start off the day with, and then go to another park later in the day. And if you wanted to do all 4 parks in one day, you could. That's something that's very popular with Disney goers, is kind of doing like the 4 park in one day challenge, is just going to one park, all 4 parks in one day. But if you wanted to just spend one half of the day in Magic Kingdom and then the second half of the day in Epcot, you could totally do that with park hopper. Another thing though with the park hopper is, let's just say you buy you have a 4-day park ticket, and you buy park hopper. The park hopper is going to be good for all 4 of those days, and you're going to have to pay for park hopper for all 4 of those days, no matter if you want to just park hop 2 of the days, that you're going to be charged for all 4 days. So, and that goes also with, if you can also add on the park hopper like day of at the parks. But let's just say you do that on your 3rd day, you're going to be charged for the previous 2 days, even though you didn't use it then. So just keep that in mind, that no matter how many days you purchase and you get the park hopper, it's going to be applied to all the days of your trip, and you're going to be charged. It's going to add on whatever amount it is to all of the days of your trip. The next thing with park tickets is actually separate ticketed events, or like special events and parties. So Disney has 2 very popular parties that they have every year. At the end of the year, they have Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, and they have Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. So they have these 2 parties, and then they also, currently right now, they have some after hours events. Anything that's like after hours, or like this type of party event, whatever, is going to be a separate ticket. So if you are purchasing a park ticket for, let's just say a Monday, but you also have, there's also an after hours event or a party on that day. You already bought your Magic Kingdom ticket for that day, let's just say. So you also wanted to go to the party for that day. You still have to buy a ticket for that day, for the party or the event. So what I'm basically trying to get at is, it doesn't matter if you already have a ticket for the parks on that day. You have to buy a separate ticket to get into the party or the event. So that's why they're called separate ticketed events, is it's an additional cost, an additional ticket to get in to the events or parties. So with the booking of the park tickets, that's when I would book that stuff if they're open and available to book. I would just book that stuff at the same time that I'm purchasing my park tickets. So then the next step for me is to book my transportation from the airport to my resort, but also before that is to book my parking at the airport that I'm flying out of. So I use the parking spot. They are I guess you would call it a parking service. They are near the airport, and if you don't know what the parking spot is, it's this giant, the one that I always go to is this giant like garage type thing, and you go in, you park your car, they have a shuttle that will take you to the airport, and it's very close to the airport, so that's really nice. But with the parking spot though too, I will link their website down below, as well as anything else that I might have mentioned that I can possibly link. All the links that I can will be down in the description below. And I will also link some YouTube channels that I watch that I get a lot of my information from, or that might be like Disney YouTubers that go to Disney all the time. I'll link them down below if you're interested in watching them. They give great tips, and you know, some of these are people who are in the parks practically every day, so they know a lot more than I do. But that's where I get all of my news and information and, you know, things like that from. So I will link some of those down below. So yeah, I will park at the parking spot, but I will get that booked. And another nice thing with the parking spot is you can choose whether you want to pay now, like at the time that you're booking, or if you want to pay later when you're picking up the car. So that's kind of a nice thing that you can do. And then the transportation from the airport to the resort. So Disney used to have a free shuttle service called the Magical Express. That is no longer. It is now called Mears Connect, and you have to pay for it, but it's the exact same service. So once you get to the airport, you know, get your bags or whatever, and it's in the exact same area that Magical Express was, and you go get in line based on what resort you are going to. These are the Disney resorts, by the way. And they will take you to your resort, and you can also, you can do one way or you can do round trip. So if you're doing the round trip, you put in, when you go on the Mears Connect website, which again will be linked down below, and you put in all your flight information and your resort information, like where you're staying. You can choose to put in, if you're staying at more than one resort, you can put in where you're staying on the second half of your trip, so they know where to drop you off and where to pick you up to take you back to the airport when your trip is over. So I will book my parking spot and I will book my Mears Connect next. And then the next thing that I want to talk about that I guess could be a step if you wanted it to, is dining reservations. So I'm not huge on Disney dining reservations. I have booked dining reservations in the past. It's just not a big item on my list. But I did want to give you the information if this is something that you wanted to look into. So I'm going to look at my notes here to make sure that I'm getting everything right since I'm not super duper familiar with it. So with the dining reservations, let's see, you can book your dining reservations 60 days in advance from your first day of your stay. So then, and I think that's for everyone, is you book 60 days, I believe. Hold on. So with the dining reservations, you can, no matter if you're staying on Disney property or not, you can book 60 days in advance from your first day of your trip. Now, where the Disney resort stay comes into play is if you are staying on Disney property on a Disney resort, you can book dining reservations for the entirety of your trip. And if you're not staying on Disney property, you have to go on day by day to book your dining reservations. So I hope that that makes sense. But basically, yeah, it's 60 days in advance that you can book. And that's, again, from your very first day of your trip. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the first day that you want to book a dining reservation. If you didn't want to book a dining reservation until like the middle of your trip, you would either, if you're not staying on Disney property, have to wait until it's 60 days from that day. Or if you are staying on Disney property, you could still book it as long as it's 60 days from your first day of your trip. So again, I really hope that that makes sense. And then for me, the last step that I really have notes on is packing lists. I like to put all of my packing lists together for all the different bags that I have. So I make a packing list for my suitcase. I make a packing list for my carry-on. I make a packing list for my park bag. And if there was anything else that you might need. So if you have children, diaper bags, anything that might need a packing list, you might need a packing list for, would be included in this. So I kind of put all of my lists and like go through everything and kind of try to put together a packing list so that I can kind of know what I need to have packed. And this is also a great way to kind of pinpoint if there's certain things that you need to buy still, if you don't already have it. 'Cause I know a lot of times people will like to buy things specifically for a trip, whether it be clothing, whether it be luggage, whether it be fun accessories, or just whatever. So that's kind of the last thing that I kind of, I guess, go through and as part of my planning steps. So I know that that was a lot of talking, and quite frankly, I'm like losing my voice from talking so much. I really hope that after editing, this is all put together very nicely. I'm very nervous about how this video is going to be put together, but I think that I gave all of the information that I needed to. I hope that everything was easy to understand and that I kind of helped somebody out with this video. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. I am no Disney expert by any means, even though some people might think that I am. I definitely don't know everything or even close to everything, but I do my best. And like I said, the YouTube channels that I linked down below helped me out a lot with that. So that's gonna wrap up this video. I'm hoping that it all got put together nicely and that I was able to have all the information said that needed to be said. But I Thank you guys so much for watching this video, because I'm not going to be surprised if it ends up being pretty long. But that is going to be it. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a very magical day. Bye guys.